What does it look like to lead with integrity, build a life around service, and still find balance in the midst of business, family, and legacy? Today's guest, Chad Anfinson, is the Executive Vice President of Silver Treasures Senior Living, a company that is revolutionizing affordable senior care through one of the first national franchise models in the industry. But beyond the title, Chad is a lifelong entrepreneur, a mentor, a devoted husband and father, and someone who's made it his mission to not just build businesses, but build people. In this episode, we unpack how Chad went from washing cars at 14 to managing multi-million-dollar operations in the senior living world, and why he believes leadership isn't about being the top dog, but about being the person the top dog relies on. We explore how losing both parents young and raising a child into adulthood shaped his mindset and redefined what matters most. His unfiltered take on work-life balance, why routines are his reset, and how to recognize when it's time to shut it down. How he's piloting AI innovations in the healthcare space and introducing cutting-edge technology to solve real communication gaps in senior living. Whether you're navigating a leadership role, raising a family, launching a new idea, or simply trying to stay steady, this conversation is packed with real wisdom, authentic reflections, and hard-won insights about showing up fully in every area of your life. So grab a coffee, take a breath, and settle in. This is Life Well Balanced with Chad Anfinson and me, your host, Nick Houpt. Well, let's dive in.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Chad Anfinson, I'm very happy and super grateful that you decided to come into the studio with us and hang out and chit chat and talk about what you're working on and senior living and healthcare and entrepreneurship and family and business and all of the above, the overall balance. So thank you very much for
My pleasure. I mean, anytime I get an opportunity to speak on any of those topics, I enjoy it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So give us Chad Anfinson's origin story.
Like how far?
I guess in your start of entrepreneurship, healthcare, how it tied together. Were you doing something first and then senior living came or healthcare came about, or were you in healthcare and then got your entrepreneur bug?
Actually, I started, when I was 14, I had a car wash. It was called Soap Suds. And I'd have everyone bring their cars over to my parents' house and would wash cars for like $25. Wash and detail cars for like $25 a car. And that's kind of where it all started. Where owning my own business and having my own money coming in, and that's where it all started. And then I come from two parents that my mother was a self-starter. She was she owned salons, and then my dad always had a side hustle. He worked for the government, he worked for the Navy, but he had a side hustle always, and his was always geared towards building things. He was really good with his hands. It would be everything from picnic tables to bird boxes to decks, anything, right? I kind of saw it firsthand, owning your own business and the checkbooks and all that stuff. And I knew at some point that was going to be for me. I knew when I went to college, people would say, "What do you want to do?" And I'd always say, "I want to own and manage my own business." That was always my answer.
Now, was it because of the freedom that it gave them, or was it because of just the thrill of it, the busyness or the productivity?
I think it was probably the busyness. My mom didn't graduate college, so cutting hair, she saw how well she could do cutting hair in that time frame, when back in the 70s and 80s, and she did very well financially. I think for her it was kind of a necessity, whereas for my dad, he just needed to be busy. And then for me, I didn't really know there was freedom that came along with it. When you own your own business, there really isn't the freedom you think there is. The freedom comes from more along the lines of you're making the decision. So you have freedom to make that decision on your business. You're always working if you own your own business. You're always working, what's the next step? How do I grow? What kind of money do I need? And as you get in bigger roles, you start talking about, I need to borrow money to grow. It's hard to grow without capital. It really wasn't about the freedom. It was the overall, the freedom piece was the unique ability to to make your own decisions and take responsibility for them. And when you did well, pat yourself on the back. When you didn't do so well, you learn from the mistake and say, okay, I won't do that again.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably where most of it's at. I'm more of a control freak than I come off as. I like to control things.
Yeah.
That's probably where most of it came from.
Okay. Now, you were saying about always working.
Yeah.
And let's talk about always working, but having that balance, that life balance. I don't like to say work-life balance because I think those two things just go together. It's not a separate entity.
Yeah.
So how do you balance your life with working all the time? Or do you consider it working all the time because you're enjoying what you're doing? How does that work for you?
You do. I mean, you do have to have a balance in both areas, right? You have to have a balance at work and you have to have a balance at home, right? At work, I've always been really good. If I didn't own my own business and I was working for somebody else, I've always been really good at shutting it down. Unless it's an emergency, 5:30, 6 o'clock, I'm done. I'm spent. I want to go home and I want to relax, or I want to go somewhere, take my wife to dinner or hang out or whatnot. And it's kind of the same thing. In my house with me and my wife, we give each other like 5-10 minutes just to vent about the day, right? And then we just cut it off right there. And we're like, okay, all right, well, we'll put that back right here and let's go enjoy each other's company. Yeah, there is some balance. When you get to higher levels in the corporate ladder, so to speak, you're taking phone calls at 8 o'clock at night if something goes wrong. And you're putting 30 minutes in, right? When I say you're always working at those levels, pretty much you're taking phone calls all the time if there's an emergency or if there's someone needs something or what have you. But being able to kind of shut it down and know when to turn it off and give yourself that moment away from it, I think that's the best way to provide balance.
So when you are going to shut it off, how do you determine knowing when it's time?
Lack of energy, lack of desire, lack of the ability to want to give anything more for that day. I noticed that at certain times, if I've been going at it for too long, at certain times, the decisions I make aren't well thought. I don't think through them very well. I'm making a decision just to get it out there and off my plate. That's when I know that, okay, I just need a little bit of a break, right? I need to just shut it down. I'll pick it back up tomorrow morning if it's still here. So
that's good.
Recognition, recognizing that you're not at your peak.
Because I know when I started in entrepreneurship and everything years ago, it was always that hustle culture and that grind, and you'll sleep when you're dead. And what I like seeing now is that transition of, no, you have to take care of yourself also, because then you're never going to accomplish what you want to accomplish and do the things that you're looking to do and get.
It's a give and take. It really is. It's a give and take. You got to, like you said, you got to know when to kind of shut it down. You just, and that's going to be different for everybody. For me, I see it when I'm making poor decisions based on trying to get done with the day quicker.
Now, do you notice when you go back and look at the things that you made those decisions on the next day and you're like, oh, I should have cut it down earlier?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I did it not too long ago. Made a decision on the fly, didn't really dive into all the things that were presented to me, right? And I just made the decision. And I woke up the next morning and I started thinking about it, and it kind of kept me awake a little bit. So I woke up the next morning, I made the phone call, and I was like, you haven't done that yet, have you? And they're like, no, not yet. I was like, don't do it that way. Let's do it this way. And it was just one of those, I needed more time, but because I was burnt, it was kind of time to settle down, and I'll attack it tomorrow.
Yeah.
You do that quite a bit.
Besides entrepreneurship and businesses and building companies and everything, what are you passionate about? What really lights you up and makes you want to just run harder?
I come from a long line of the willingness to help people, just the desire to help people, the desire to watch other people be successful. I've never really wanted to be the top dog, but I wanted to be the person that the top dog relies on, right? You know, I always wanted to be that guy. So helping others in their success and lending information or mentoring them or being a sounding board for them, that's what kind of inspires me. That's where I kind of come from. That's what drives me. Every day I'm trying to figure out not only of getting this done and that done, but also to who have I helped today. So
now, do you see that coming back? I know you're not hoping, expecting anything back, but do you see down the road that coming back in your favor, or both? Like sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
I think more than anything, it doesn't really come back in my favor. It's not like a quid pro quo. But at the end of the day, you get the people, the compliments. People go talk to Chad, or he'll help you out, or he'll give you the right direction, or he might give you some advice or what have you. So you start to build that rapport with those folks that you helped out, and then they lean on you, which is nice. It's nice to be leaned on a little bit. It's nice to feel like people count on you. It's a good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think that's really the passion behind it has more to do with watching somebody else succeed than myself succeed. Because in my mind, I'm never going to be where I think I should be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always striving to be better. That doesn't mean more money. It just means, am I my best self right now? Am I exceeding my own expectations? I'm the worst on myself than anybody else is. Nobody's harder on me than me. So I feel good about it. I kind of put that away and be like, man, I remember Nick when he was like this, and now look at him. Yeah. And that makes me feel good. I don't ask for anything in return. It just makes me feel good. It brings me joy and happiness.
Throughout your day, what are some habits and routines that you do that are non-negotiables? You do them every day to get you moving, get you going. Yeah. Like, what are the things that you do day in, day out that you feel play a role in your success and in a good day? Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that. My nephew's going into the Air Force. He just signed up. I don't know when his Call of Duty comes up, but he's going to the Air Force. And one of the things that I had set aside for him was the idea of having a routine and not breaking that routine, because that's the one constant that gets you going, right? So it's funny you kind of brought that up, because for me, I'm a creature of habit when it comes to certain things. I wake up at a certain time. I get myself 30 minutes of just sitting and watching the news a little bit, coffee, hard-boiled egg, go work out, go get my day started. I mean, that's pretty much every day except maybe Saturdays. But every day I do the exact same thing in the morning. And it sounds boring, but it's something I can count on. And when I don't get certain things in that routine done, I feel a difference in myself. Mm-hmm. Right now, I can add to that routine, but I don't like to take away from that routine. It's kind of the same thing with, like, I know I play a lot of golf, a lot, and there's a routine to it. You have a pre-shot routine when you step up to the ball, and you keep that routine. You're trying to give yourself the best opportunity for success with that one shot, and it's the same exact thing. So I don't change that pre-shot routine up. It's mine. Mm-hmm. Nobody has to like it. It's my routine. You can borrow it, but it's still mine. So it's the same thing, having that routine that you can count on. That's why when people go on vacation or they go to stay in somebody else's house, it's why it probably doesn't turn out as good as they thought it would be, because they got out of their routine. When you go stay in a hotel, especially on business travel, it's tough to keep that routine. I just flew in this morning from West Virginia, and I'm telling you what, my routine was all kind of jacked up. And I was off my game a little bit just because I didn't get my day started like normal.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because I knew you just flew in.
Yeah.
So what are some ways you can stick to your routine while you're traveling? Because a lot of the time they say, too, is even if you can't do your full routine or a full workout or something similar to that nature, at least do some of it.
Yeah.
How do you find yourself sticking to some of that routine as you're traveling? And
I look at, like, I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express. You don't have a whole lot of choices in Charleston, West Virginia, but I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express. I made sure that they had complimentary breakfast. I made sure they had coffee. I made sure that there was a gym there. So I didn't get the full routine in, but I got pieces of it in. But nonetheless, I still felt off a little bit. Plus, I'm in a new place. I've never been. This was the first trip to that part of West Virginia. I was already off a little bit. So I'm trying to get my bearings straight and whatnot. But Yeah, I think if you just kind of, you know what your routine is, you stick to it. And when you do go on travel, try to maintain it. And if you have to kind of call ahead or pick a hotel because they have complimentary breakfast or they have a coffee maker in the room or what have you, and that's part of your routine, then go do that.
Right? Stick to as much of the routine
as
as you can.
As much as possible. As much as possible. It's the one constant in life because you control it. And I think everybody probably does have a morning routine, I would imagine.
Whether they know it or not.
Whether they know it or not, that's the thing. Like guys that I hang out with, that it's the same thing every morning for them.
Yeah.
And you ask them about a routine, like, no, I don't have a routine. But then, okay, what'd you do this morning? Oh, I do what I always do. I got up, took a shower. That's part of your routine. Yeah. So I think that's the other thing too, is everyone has a routine. Maybe they don't acknowledge it.
I think what it is because now we were talking about buzzwords, and I think that buzzword of morning routines and all of the content that's out there and everything. And I was having this conversation with an old business partner of mine the other day, and he's like, man, you have all these guys that are like, oh, morning routine, you got to have this morning routine, wake up at this time, do this. And I said, yeah, but those guys don't have kids, do they?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, no, there's no way.
Yeah.
Because a kid, that will throw your routine off like crazy. Can you talk about that now? You're an empty nester now.
Oh, yeah. And it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
For years, the center focus, besides our own like business and work, the center focus was our son for years.
Mm-hmm.
Pick him up from school, take him to school, take him to practice, pick him up from practice, make sure he eats breakfast, take him lunch, make sure he's doing his homework. Then when he gets older, make sure he gets his driver's license, make sure he's driving safely. Let's make sure we get a car. All these things for years, the center focus of your life was just that one little person.
Mm-hmm.
And then outside of that, you try to find time for yourselves. But then when they disappear and they move away, like he did, he went away to college, got a job around the college where he where he went to school. He's living in that area. It's a little different because you come home and there's no one there.
Mm-hmm. There's not as many dishes.
Yeah, well, that's true. There's some pros. There are some pros to it, though. I will tell you that there are some pros to your teenager growing into a young man and moving out. There's some pros to it, but I think just not having him around is difficult sometimes because you're just used to having him
it's
there.
The same thing all the time.
Yeah, now he's on his own. Now he's starting his own routine, and the routine might be, I'm going to go visit my parents once a month. That might be his routine. He'll figure it out. But yeah, as an empty nester, the pro of that is a lot of quality time with your partner.
Do you feel that it builds your relationship up a little more? Like, are you doing more date nights and stuff now, or?
We definitely hang out a lot more. Not that we didn't before, but we definitely hang out a lot more. We've always been a family that ate together every night. We sat at the table and ate. That's how I was raised, and we kind of carried that on. So not having our son there, we haven't changed that. Now, we've both been on travel. It's a little difficult, but now our travel is going to slow down for the next 4 weeks. So we'll go back to our normal routine. We'll go back, cook dinner, sit at the table together. After that, watch one of the game shows, and then get into something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's our weekly routine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little strange being an empty nester, but there's some pros and cons to it.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring that up because I have a friend of mine that her daughter just graduated.
Yeah.
And she's getting ready to go off to college and stuff, and she's getting really sad about it because it's a complete life change.
Yeah.
And then us being a mental health therapy company and everything too, I kind of wanted to just touch and get your insight on any advice for parents that are getting ready to go through that, and anything that you can give that could help ease that sadness, or what can you be happy about, or what do you focus on? What kind of mindset do you have going through this transition?
When I see that, I think the biggest thing is when I see the success that my son is having, I know that me and my wife were part of that. When he decided to go away for college, it was tough, but I wanted him to also to kind of grow and learn and make some mistakes on his own that he could live through, but also that he could kind of build around and be like, okay, I know not to do that anymore, right? Mm-hmm. Us driving him down to college and dropping him off and getting him set up in his dorm his freshman year, it was a little tough, but I was also excited for him too, because he was going to go into a new situation. He was going to break away. He was going to go meet new friends. He was going to be in a
A new chapter,
a new
a new season.
chapter. There's no me running upstairs to wake him up because he needs to get up because he's late, or because I'm tired of him sleeping until 12 o'clock. There's no more of that, right? He can do that all he wants as long as he was to get through school, right? I looked at it as, yes, sad for us, but an opportunity for him, which in turn made me happy that he has this unique opportunity to go to college. He had scholarships. He did that for himself, that he's got this unique opportunity to build his own life. And without us holding his hand, we helped him in here and there stuff. Like if something came up that he didn't quite know how to manage, we helped him there. But all the other stuff, that's on his shoulders. And he needed to feel like it was going to be tough, because if it's too easy, then down the road when something comes along that approaches him that's super tough, he won't be able to handle it. But feel really confident that he'll be able to handle it because we let him go a little bit. We let the leash go.
Yeah.
Don't do anything stupid is what I told him. And I won't define what I said was stupid, but I listed it out. There were like 5 things that I told him. Don't do this, 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 or this. And if you do, I'll be down here. And he followed that to a T. He had a lot of good times. He had a lot of fun, made a lot of friends. He still lives down there. He's living with 3 of his college buddies that all graduated college in different industries. He's enjoying that aspect of it. He's going to break away pretty soon and get his own place. He's came out of college, got a job, a salary job. He's the youngest one in his office. He's in mechanical engineering. It's impressive that his cubicle mate is like 62 and he's like 22, right?
Yeah.
And they're chums. He's getting out of that. He's becoming an adult. So that's kind of cool. But in terms of advice for your friend, you're going to be sad. That's natural, but you got to find the positive in it. You've done a great job with your child that you can send them off to college to make their own path. You've done an amazing job of raising this child to do that. That's probably the best way I looked at it for me. Like, man, we did well with this kid. Now look at him. Yeah. Now sometimes he's a little too independent. That's the downside, because you're like, hey man, do you need anything? No, I'm good. I got it. Golly, man, I just want to help out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes it's a little tough that way. So it hurts my wife sometimes more than it does me, because she wants to be mama, right? She wants to help out.
Yeah.
I'll go down there and do this. And hey, do we need to come down there? Nah, we're good. I'll take care of it.
Are you sure?
Are you sure? Because it's only 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what is your definition of a life well balanced?
Early in my career, I was only focused on money. I was only focused on making money. Like I wanted the material stuff. I had cars, I had a house. I didn't need 4 cars, but it was a status thing. And I learned it just didn't make me happy. It really didn't. Yeah. I could go on rants and talk about this car, that car, where I lived here, where I lived there, but it never really made me happy. Then it kind of life well balanced was trying to figure out what makes me happy. And a lot of that is a relaxed home environment, a comfortable home environment where communication is key, where you can speak your mind very nicely, where you can have that type of communication. Also too is you can't, for me, work can't run my life. It's a part of my life, but it can't run my life. I need to put myself as well as my family members, they come first, period. I can't, without them, I'm not who I am today. It's a lot of who I am today was shaped by my family. Being able to spend time with them is very important to me. I'd rather wake up in the morning with $100 in my bank account and have no access to anything else, but be like happy about it. Again, shutting it down. Know when to shut it down. No, work stays at work, home stays at home, period. And for me, that's pretty good balance. There's not a whole lot that's going to, because of early childhood stuff, because of the way I was raised, because of losing parents at an early age, there's not a whole lot on a bad note that's going to affect me. It's just, I'm just cut different because of what I went through as a kid. It's made me stronger. It's also too, though, it's made me bullheaded. So I have to be very careful, because once I get into something, whether it be life balance or not, if I decide I'm doing this, I'm doing it. And sometimes I have to be very careful because is that really, am I really balanced then?
Mm-hmm.
No, not really. Because I'm just like, nope, this is what I'm doing. I think just being able to cut it down and being grateful for where you're at, what you have. I know a lot of people talk about manifestation, but I think the more that you talk positively, the more you talk about being balanced in different areas, the better off you're going to be. I think positive breeds positive. You just, what's there to be unhappy about?
Mm-hmm. Right.
For me.
Now, you read books and
Yeah.
everything, obviously.
Yeah.
Do you have any recommended books or practices or resources that our listeners would benefit by reading or listening to? Or
I mean, from a business perspective, if Disney ran your hospital, that from a business side, I'd take that book, right?
okay.
In terms of, it's funny, in terms of other sources, we have so much at our fingertips today. There's so many ways to get media sent to us. I think YouTube is probably one of the greatest sources out there, because everybody, if a lot of people are on there, and if you have struggles or people have experienced the same issues that you're going through right now, there's somebody out there that you can just kind of pull up, type it in the search engine on YouTube, and somebody spoke on it and how they handled this or how they handled that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's all over. I think YouTube's probably it's one of my go-tos for a lot of different things. But from a business perspective and being an entrepreneur, I think if Disney ran your hospital is probably one of the better reads.
Actually, haven't heard of that.
Yeah.
I
And
wrote it down
there's,
here.
but I've got a couple other smaller books and stuff like that I read and go back and read, and I read a lot of articles on my iPad, just certain things. I just get into a topic. It might not even be about business. I just get into a topic.
Mm-hmm.
The other day I was interested in which state has the most species of birds. Don't ask me why, but I got interested in it. I had to know. And I was like, at first, this was me and my wife, Leah, we were talking about it, just having, I don't even remember, it might have been just coffee, morning coffee or whatever. And I was like, what state has the most species of birds? And it just came out of nowhere. And she actually guessed right. I was like, I don't know, Florida. We have a lot of different climate here, right?
Yeah.
And it wound up being California. California has something like 700 plus different species of birds. Florida doesn't show up until like 5th on the list. I mean, there's some states too that I was like, they have birds there? Like New Mexico. So just, that's me going on a tangent.
My thing is the rabbit hole I go down with having the baby.
Yeah.
We're watching all these kids shows and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, wonder what this person's net worth is and how did they get started? And I'm like looking up Blippi and Miss Rachel and how much they're worth. And
yeah, it's easy to do that too, because you're as an entrepreneur, you're always looking for the next side, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, well, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should start learning how to make soap for kids, right?
Yeah.
It's always something. Then you go and look at it and you're haywire on it for about a week, and then you run some numbers and you're like, oh no, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
So it's good. That's why numbers are important to me, because I can do a real quick pro forma and be like, am I doing it for money or am I doing it for passion? If I'm doing it for passion, I don't care. I won't even run numbers. If I'm doing it to prove a point as an entrepreneur, then I'll run numbers, and a lot of times I'll be like, that's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
You can't sell 10,000 pieces a month of that particular item. Just it's impossible.
Yeah.
And not put any money in it from a marketing perspective. But yeah, it's funny.
Now with your whole journey, who has inspired you the most throughout your process?
Early on in my career, it was a lady by the name of Suzette McCandless. She was the Southeastern vice president for the company I worked for at the time, was Emeritus Senior Living. And she was a great mentor. She was hard on me, but in a good way. Like, she wanted me to learn the business from the bottom to the top. Like, she wasn't going to give me my directorship until I learned every aspect of every department, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like 5 or 6 departments in these assisted living buildings. So I had to kind of work my way up. And eventually I got my own building. But she was instrumental in those early years. And there were some peers that I wanted to be like. from a business perspective. There was some people that I worked around that were higher up, a couple years older than me, that I kind of aspired to be. Eventually, and they all kind of branched out and started their own senior living companies, and I still keep in touch with some of them today. For me, that really wasn't, once I got a little more into it, for me, I didn't want to be a CEO anymore. I just didn't, I felt, for me, I just like, that's not going to be my best fit. I had different plans. But she was probably the best. And then there's been some other folks out there there's a gentleman by the name of Jeff Fisher. He's CEO for a senior living company. I've known him since the early 2000s. We were out in Seattle together in 2001 with the World Trade Center. When that all happened, we were at a conference and they shut us down for we couldn't leave Seattle for 9 days. Me and Jeff just hung out. We hung out. We went and did all the stuff in Seattle. Nobody was there. Pike's Fish Market. But to this day, I talk to him pretty regularly, and we share ideas in business, and we talk about the senior living industry, and we talk about other things within the business world. I look up to him. He's a good guy. He treated me fair. He's always been kind to me. Anytime I needed help, if I asked him, he would provide that help. And sometimes that help was just a phone call for me to get my foot in the door somewhere else, or just review something, a business plan that I've put together to submit to another company or what have you. So he's always been there too. He's probably that other guy within that business. And then outside of that, in my personal life, two of my best friends, I've known them since I was a kid, and we're all three different. We have a lot of similarities, but the three of us have been together since I was in 7th grade. So we all are very happy where we're at in our life, but we got there differently. We're three different people. We don't do things exactly the same, but we enjoy each other's company. One, I went to college and the other two didn't. One guy went into trade school and he did very well for himself. The other guy got on with a company, and he's been there since he was 22, 23 years old. Now he's 55. He's coming up on retirement, and he lives a very nice life. It's weird. Not everybody's path is the same, but I look up to those guys because they did it differently than what I did it. And I didn't expect them to do it the same way as me, but I'm not sure I could have done it their way. I'm not sure my brain would have allowed me to have some form of success doing it their way. I look up to them. They inspire me because of that. Yeah, that's pretty much, those guys right there kind of kept me going. Yeah. My wife inspires me. Probably one of the smartest people I know. Did some things that I guarantee you that I couldn't do. Going into the Navy and living on base and all this other stuff, and then coming back and getting into primary care, and then from there deciding I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go do something different. She starts becoming a wound care doctor. So it's just crazy. That's impressive to me that she changed course 180 degrees. Boom.
And she even in the process had a coffee company for
coffee company and a clothing company.
Clothing brand.
Yeah. She got a little bit of that from me.
Yeah.
She's very creative. I'm not as creative as she is. I'm great with ideas, and I'm great with big picture. I don't do really well within the details. I'm not a detail-oriented person. And I learned that a long time ago, which when it came to me and having a particular management style, I really needed the people around me. I needed them. For everyone's success, I needed to have people I needed to surround myself with people that were better than me in certain categories. I knew what I was good at and I knew what I was bad at. I had to strengthen that up. My weaknesses, I had to strengthen that up.
Now, I think that's good in leadership, is understanding where you're not as strong and getting those right people. I think a lot of people in the leadership role want to do everything themselves because they feel that they're the leader, they have to do it. But I think what makes a really good leader is someone that understands that they need to bring on people that are better at those things than them.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably talk about leadership for hours on end, and everyone's going to have their opinion about it. Everyone's going to have a different opinion about what makes a good leader a good leader. For me, it's just like you said, it's the recognizing what you're good at and what you're not good at. I just need to know high level on certain things. I don't need to know the full on degree of what are you doing. I just need a very high level because I have to count on you and I trust you that you're going to do it better than me. That. And it sounds harsh, but if I have to do it, then what's the point in having you?
Right.
Right. I mean, I know that sounds harsh, but that is the reality. If I can do this and I'm really good at it, unless I want to pass knowledge on to somebody else, I don't really need that person.
Yeah, why hire someone you can micromanage everything they're doing?
And who wants to, I mean, some people need to be micromanaged, period. Some people, they do very well at taking direction. That is their gift. They don't get bent about it. They're not upset about it. They do very, very well at taking direction. And they know which questions to ask when you give them an assignment. They know which questions to ask, right? Because they didn't get the full description of what you want done. And then they ask the right questions. That's the person. Like, those people are needed. They are needed. And they're great people, right? I think a lot of times, and I can get real tangential here, but I think a lot of times leaders are just leaders because somebody put them in that role. They're not real leaders. It's just
managers.
They're managers. They're managing somebody else's time. They struggle with managing their own time. People, you can always tell, put a group of people together and you'll find out who the leader is. They come out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's not even who you would expect.
Oh, no, I agreed. Which should help you out in terms of the future, in terms of recognizing those leadership qualities, recognizing those in people just by observing, just straight observation. We are way too quick to judge people. You get on the phone with somebody, you've never met them, and you're like, oh, this isn't going to work out. But then you meet them, you see how they interact and whatnot. Yeah.
Now we're going to shift gears a little bit here because we were talking about healthcare and senior living, and we haven't touched on that yet. And one of the things that you're involved in is you're the executive vice president of a company called Silver Treasures. And do you want to talk about what kind of got you into senior living and what your role in senior living is? And
I fell into it. I fell into it. It wasn't what I was thinking I wanted to do. But now it makes sense to me now that I'm older and I understand why I was very comfortable in that industry. My mother, back to my mom, she cut hair and did updos and all this other stuff. And she had a salon in Penny Farms, which is a retirement area before retirement areas were cool, right? Before they really started popping up everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I would go and visit. I was with her when I was a little kid. I'd go to the salon on like Tuesdays because I didn't have a sitter that day. So during the summer, I'd sit in the salon and these little ladies, these little old ladies coming in, these gentlemen coming in, getting their hair cut. They'd always tap me on the head, give me money to go next door. I just was really comfortable around our elderly residents or seniors. I was just really comfortable around them. And I started to realize how much knowledge they had. Make a long story short, I had took a job not in senior housing, didn't really care for it. I spent about a year doing it, and I just kind of waded through it, and finally I just came to the conclusion this isn't what I want. Came back home, and I was visiting my grandmother, who happened to live across the street from this senior living building. I had no clue what it was, and I saw, as I was walking through this public shopping center, they had a mock apartment because the building next door, they were being built for seniors, but they had a mock apartment in this thing, and it said help wanted. So I need a job. I walked in there, happened to have my resume in my car, gave it to the hiring manager. 2 days later, do an interview. Day later, they hire me to open up the building, and from a sales perspective. And I wound up, there was I don't remember how many units, but I wound up leasing 52 apartments. And I got paid based on how many deposits I took. And then I got paid on converting those deposits to move-ins. And it was a really good year, is what I would say. And then that's when it kind of hit me. I was like, this isn't bad. It's not sexy. It's senior housing. It's not sexy, but this isn't bad. I feel like I could make a career out of this. I started getting interested in the next levels. Sales and marketing director, area director. Then I wanted to get my license to run a building. I got my license. Then I started getting into operations, and then I saw that as running a business. And the one thing that Suzette McCandless told me was she's given me the checkbook to a multi-million-dollar business, and I'm supposed to run it as my business. That's where it all started to come from too, is I took a lot of my entrepreneurial spirit and put it into what I was doing as a director, as an operator. And it really paid off. Because from then, I just kind of kept moving up. And then one day, I just decided I wanted to be with a group that focused on middle market. I wanted to focus on affordable senior housing. I didn't want to focus on luxury brands. There's a lot of luxury brands out there that do it very, very well, but my parents wouldn't be able to afford that. I felt a little guilty. But then Silver Treasures came along, and I presented myself and jumped at the opportunity, and they gave me the opportunity, and now here we are.
Now you're starting to franchise that across the country, or?
Correct. Yeah, we're national. We're a national franchise now. We are starting across the country. We're active in Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, and West Virginia. We are actively working on a deal in Texas and actively working on another deal in Georgia. All of those being franchises, which is great because it really doesn't exist. Franchising senior housing doesn't exist. And it's a way for us, because of the way that our model works. We're not building 100-unit buildings. We keep it between 16 and 32. From a numbers perspective, the margins from a percentage base are just as strong, if not stronger, because we don't have as much labor drawing away from the revenue.
Okay.
When you run 16 units or 32 units, you're using universal employees as well as your directors, also your marketer and your office manager. So it allows us to kind of cut some of that middle management labor out, because now we're doing two jobs with one person. And it's a little easier to do when you only have 16 residents versus 130 residents.
So those people aren't overwhelmed or anything like that.
No, and they know they got their finger on the pulse of everything. So they know. They're truly in the know, versus having to, the more people you put in a line to communicate one idea, by the time it gets to the end of the line, that idea's changed 10 times. You don't get the same one. So by removing people, we have cut down on the need for like hardcore communication. We've cut down on the need for these salaried positions that kind of draw away from the revenue. And I think that's, in my opinion, that's where the model's going. I think the only way that the industry overall, with the cost to build right now and with the cost of labor, the only way we're going to be able to expand our footprint is if we look at smaller communities, not bigger. Everybody wants to do bigger, but the ones that want to do bigger are the people that are backing that dollar, that investment company, with all the three big ones that are out there. They're kind of telling you, for us to get our return, we need to be 150 apartments. Okay. It's not really the world I live in anymore.
What I've seen with that too is you get these big communities and they build these fancy communities that are very expensive, and then before they even fully open, they sell them already.
Yeah. So because it's a real estate play. I mean, you buy a piece of land, you buy 5 acres, you build a $15, $20, $30 million building on it, and before it's even stabilized, the day that you get certificate of occupancy, you may get it appraised. It's a real estate play. You're in the business to take care of people, and that's what you're selling. You're selling a need-driven business, right? Assisted living is need-driven, but at the end of the day, it's all about the real estate. You just increase the value of that piece of land significantly. Most of these companies do have an exit strategy, and sometimes that exit strategy might be 2 years, it might be 3 years. It could be something with like a bridge funding loan that's short term, and they got to sell before that final note's due, there's a lot of different reasons why that happens. But yeah, people are trying to get in and out and make a little and then do another one, right? Yeah. Not really sure that doesn't really work in for what we do from a franchise perspective, but.
Okay, well, I want to be I want to make sure I don't hold you too long. I could sit here and talk to you about this all day,
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
can dive deep into
Sure.
franchising and real estate
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. But I just want to, since we're coming to an end, I want to acknowledge you for everything that you do, and
Oh,
for the mentorship that you give, and for all the help that you give to those people, and the content you create, not only in the business world, but I see your golfing
yeah, we
content
have
and
some golf
everything,
content.
because
Yeah.
you're a phenomenal golfer.
I wouldn't say phenomenal.
And
I'm better than 90% of golfers is what I would say.
okay. And I want to acknowledge you for that, and for what you guys are doing at Silver Treasures with putting
Yeah.
the care for those residents and the affordability out there for them,
Yeah.
and all that. So I appreciate what you're doing there. We're going to jump into what we call balanced or unbalanced.
Got it.
Now it's kind of a fast-paced question. You can elaborate a little more if you want, but we will dive in here, and the answer is just going to be balanced or unbalanced. If you want to talk more about it, you can. If not, we can keep moving forward.
Got it.
But working 80 hours a week,
Unbalanced.
taking meetings during vacation,
Unbalanced.
skipping lunch to finish emails,
Balanced.
saying yes to every opportunity.
Unbalanced. Now, you say yes to too many opportunities, there's no guarantee that opportunity is going to pan out. Really dive into the opportunity. That's what I would say.
Okay.
But if you say yes to everything, you're going to short side yourself. Unbalanced.
Multitasking during Zoom calls.
One, I don't like Zoom calls. I'm more of a face-to-face guy, and I know Zoom you can do that, but I get perturbed when I'm at a meeting and someone breaks out their cell phone. It frustrates me, even if I'm not the speaker, because I want to pay respects to the speaker, right? A lot of times that's definitely an unbalanced thing.
Yeah. Blocking off time on your calendar for doing nothing.
I mean, for some people, that's going to be balanced. They have to block that time off. They have to tell themselves they block that time off, because it's not other people, it's them, right? It's not, Chad didn't make Nick do that. Nick did that, right?
Yeah.
They have to do that. For me, unbalanced, because I'm in control of what I do, right? For others, it's going to be balanced. They have to do that. Totally understand why people have to do that.
Yeah. And then I didn't have these, but as we were talking, I came up with a couple more. Balanced or unbalanced side hustles.
For brains that work like anyone that's similar to me that works like mine, it's balanced. And it even if it doesn't make money, it's still balanced. Because if my only skill set is to run and operate senior living facilities, I have just painted myself into a corner. However, if I am active and learn how to do these other things and then get so passionate about it that I wanted to start a business doing it, right? Then that's balanced. It keeps me creative. It keeps juices flowing. It keeps new ideas coming to the table. For me, it's balanced.
Balanced or unbalanced venting with your spouse.
5 to 10 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes. Get it off your chest. Talk about it. If it's like work related, you can count on me. 5 to 10 minutes. After that, if you're still going on about it, that's unbalanced.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, is there anything else that you're working on that you want to share with anyone?
Let's see. What am I working on right now? Besides growing Silver Treasures franchise piece, I have some side projects that I really want to develop because I want to give back to the community that raised me, right? And they have to do with senior housing as it pertains for veterans. I'm kind of working on that as a side project. I think that's really important. A lot of senior living facilities currently have veterans that live in their buildings, gentlemen that served in Vietnam and past wars, and even some that served in Desert Storm are starting to get to that age range. And it's if you ever walk into a facility and you see a lot of veterans, you notice they all start to come together as one. You see them like they're their own little group. It's kind of like a little clique, and it gets a little uncomfortable for when they're not around those that have kind of experienced what they've experienced. I just think there's an opportunity there to do some affordable housing for seniors who are also veterans. Yeah, working on something with that. Also, we're piloting this AI software. Silver Treasures is. Well, I'm doing it for the company. Yeah, and we're using the first out the door is a AI answering service. So the more calls it takes, the quicker it learns what the person on the other end wants or needs based on keywords that it's pulling from the conversation.
That's cool.
Yeah. We'll be the first one probably in the industry. Probably. Okay. I'm right out of the gate on this system because right now the way that it works is we have a 1-800 number. It gets pushed to one person. And if that one person doesn't answer it, then it goes to voicemail. So we're losing items versus, let's say, hiring an answering service overseas. Those are difficult too. Yeah. This system, they approached me, and I know the gentleman. I did some consulting with him in the past. I was like, well, let us pilot it. We'll pilot the AI answering service first. It'll be able to pick out certain things that you're wanting or asking, and then it'll ask you questions in return. It takes those questions and then those answers, and then it's calculating all that data. Then the next phone call that comes through, they already know. On a fun side, I'm working on a new golf bag with my son who understands mechanical engineering, and he's a CAD. He's very good at CAD. We have an idea that I've sent him some shots over of what I think a golf bag. If I could design a golf bag for ease of use and design it better, I've sent him some ideas. He's been kind of running through CAD on that. Who knows? Maybe I might be getting myself into the golf bag development business. Or just sell the patent. One of the two. Yeah. But yeah, definitely. Him and I we're working on that on a like a side project. And then I have some car projects and things like that. But yeah.
Because you had mentioned earlier, I know we're gonna probably go over time here, but you were talking about when you were younger and not needing 4 cars and everything, but now you have a car collection, right?
A small one, yeah, it's mine. But yes. But cars are to me cars are, there's just something about them. I mean, mechanically, if you think about it, where we've come from since the early 1900s to now, where cars can drive themselves, it's pretty impressive. And I like things that are kind of off the wall a little bit, Volkswagen Rat Rod, things like that. Yeah, and it's another outlet, right? I can't play golf every day. I don't really want to play golf every day. I love it, but I don't want to play every day. I can't go out in the ocean every day because one, the conditions aren't always going to be good for me every day. Then what do you do then besides just sitting? You either drum up new business ideas or you go tinker. You go add something on a car or whatever. Yeah. It's an outlet. Everyone should have a bunch of different outlets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put that balance in place.
Yeah. Leah crochets. She sits on the couch and crochets. That's her.
Okay.
And she comes up and she's like, look how many of these squares I made. And I'm like, that's cool. I can't do it. But it helps her wind down.
Yeah.
And versus just sitting on the couch watching TV and just being like a zombie. She's actually still being creative and doing something. That's why the coffee company and the clothing company, that was for her brain. It was when I'd tell her, like, don't worry about it. It's creativity. Look how creative you are. You're building something, making something. Yeah.
Now, where can our listeners find you? Do you have social medias you want them to follow?
We do. All of our Silver Treasure brands have they have their own Facebooks there. And then Silver Treasure Senior Living, we have a website, Silver Treasure Senior Living, that gives a little bit of information about our franchise. And then outside of that, we're open for tours all the time. We have 7 buildings in the North Florida area. We've recently renamed a lot of our buildings Silver Treasures because we're trying to brand everything as such. We want everything to kind of look the same, feel the same. So no different than the franchises you see with the Chick-fil-A's and the McDonald's. It's kind of a similar thing when you're talking about branding recognition. Back in the day, Brookdale did a great job of branding. I mean, people would be like, yeah, I moved my mom to a senior housing and be like, oh, is it a Brookdale? And they did a great job. One, because they're so big, they're so large, that helped out tremendously. But they also did a really good job with a lot of their marketing and branding. We're trying to do the same thing from a Silver Treasures perspective is find these owners that couldn't afford a $30 million building, but they can buy a franchise and we can help them and kind of teach them that you're not really putting up the $30 million. There's a down payment you put up, but let us do all the legwork for you. Let us find you the lenders. Let us help you out, get you your own building, and then help you down the road, hold your hand through the whole process. from a franchise perspective. We have a lot on the table right now, a lot of different groups that are coming to us that want to do a franchise. It's just a matter of, do they fit where we want to be?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how can people find Chad Anfinson?
I mean, you can email me at Lifestyles for Seniors. It's probably the easiest way. That's my email for my business or for Silver Treasures. Outside of that, Birdie Bunch. We have a golf content site on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We just do a few little things. We sell some apparel as well, but that's just for fun.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, we truly appreciate you coming out and,
thanks, man.
coming on the Life Well Balanced podcast. And we look forward to doing some more work with you and having you on again sometime and talking more about what you have going on then.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. This podcast is made possible by Balanced Well-Being, Psychiatric and Psychological Care. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow. And if you want, click that share button. We appreciate you.